So why are we here? The board has proposed a new community vision plan, and we feel it's important to get our community not only aware of it, but on board, and get public feedback to inform our surrounding elected officials as to what our desires are. We're going to have a breakdown of that information from Rich Fiala here in just a second, and he's going to cover 4 areas: the historic context, where we've come and were from as a hamlet, the reasons for the new CVP, principally the 5-party and 3-party intergovernmental agreement that was recently signed, well, I guess a year ago now, and the projected impacts of developing the area, and then the 2020 community vision plan versus the 2015 community vision plan, which is somewhat different and certainly longer. But anyway, Rich can tell you all about that. Again, thanks a lot, folks, for coming.
So my name is Richard Fiala. My family has got a century farm in the area. So I'm currently the vice chair of the hamlet and are active in the hamlet, and it's great to see people we have not seen at a meeting before. I see a lot of new faces. So I've been given the unenviable task of talking about the history. So a couple weeks ago, I took too long because I went too much in detail, so I will first tell you, which I have an opportunity to talk a lot. All this information is on the Hamlet website. And if you don't have your questions answered afterwards, please send the Hamlet an email and we'll get an answer for you, okay? So, the Hamlet, the history. The Hamlet was a concept that Clackamas County brought forward in 2006, the hamlets and villages. It was to help in response to grassroots efforts by residents to become more involved with county government and to help support their community. And then anyone who is at least 18 years old and resides, owns property, or has a business within a hamlet or village boundary is a member of that hamlet or village and can vote. So, in 2006, the hamlet was created. In 2009, we created a values and vision statement, a very nice document that talks about where we're at lifestyle-wise, the things we want to see happening, and so on. And that was with 20 different public meetings to get to there. In 2010, our hamlet was chosen by Clackamas County to be one of the areas that's called Urban Reserve. So currently there's Urban Reserve, Rural Reserve, and Undesignated. In 2010, again, we were designated as Urban Reserve. So the city of Westland and Tualatin challenged that decision, and it went to the Land Use Board of Appeals, and it needed to be reviewed and what action would be taken in response to that lawsuit. In the late fall of 2013, the Hamlet Board formed an internal committee to create one of the things we owe the county, which is a community vision plan. And at that point, we were in the urban reserves, and that was what we were looking towards. And so we started in November. In February of 2014, the Land Use Board of Appeals remanded back the decision of the urban reserves to be examined and see if it could be rewritten, their decision, to meet the metro standards over many different factors, but the primary one was traffic and congestion. Okay, I'm oversimplifying for you because we don't want to take tons of time. Metro and Clackamas County had that on their plate from February of 14 until 2017, which we'll get to here in a minute. At that time, we decided as a hamlet, since we were in an area of undecision, of not being a true urban reserve at that moment, that we started with a community plan that was called the Stafford Hamlet Compromise. That Stafford Hamlet Compromise said it would be okay for the EFU land, of the 11 to 1,200 acres north of the Tualatin River, to go from 80 acre zoning down to 5 or 10. If we went to 10, you would add no more than 50 additional houses. If you went to 5, you'd be less than 150. And the concept was, is that enough for landowners? And, oh, by the way, we do not have to promote any or change any of the infrastructure, add anything. We don't need to have schools with that kind of quantity. That was the concept put forward, and it did say that if it fit over here in Borland, that it was okay to be an urban area, i.e. the compromise. 87% of the people that voted on it agreed with that concept. In 2015, we took that document forward that said pretty much identically the same thing. We added a bunch of nice text to it, and it was passed at 86% of the voters. So that takes you up to 15. That's 5 years ago now. A lot of things happened after that. So why do we need a new community vision plan? Number one, we wrote our community vision plan that we still have today, and that's why we've called you here. And that community vision plan back in 2015 was on the premise that we were not going to be urban reserves. Well, the cities, and Jeff Goodman, who was a key part of this, and when he was a city councilor in Lake Oswego, and we'll be speaking here in a few minutes, Jeff will talk about that history, and we've got Ken Humberson here who will talk about it as well from Clackamas County. But in essence, how do we solve this ongoing lawsuit between Tualatin and West Lynn and Clackamas County and Metro? And it became a 5-party intergovernmental agreement and laid a baseline that Jeff will tell you about. Then the 3 cities got together in 18 and 19 and approved a 3-party IGA, intergovernmental agreement. And that has some more language in that. And what that basically does is it says we are going to be urban reserve. That means when you're in an urban reserve, you cannot change the zoning until a city expands their UGB, urban growth boundary, and puts you into a situation where you are then annexed in if you request. And that's the way most of the cities do it here. Okay, and if I've lost you, we'll have some questions here in a minute. Since that time, the cities have asked us what the hamlet wants. And that's one of the reasons you're here. We believe that the new community vision plan that was going to be presented, and if you've looked around, is up in a few places, is something that the cities will hear from us, depending on you, the voters, on how it is thought of as a community vision plan. So we want to tell the cities what they want to hear, what we want to tell them. Excuse me. Pardon? Oh, sorry. So, in the last year, we've spoken to 16 of the 19 elected officials in the cities of West Lynn, Lake Oswego, and Tualatin to get their comments, to get their concepts, to let them know that we're out here trying to be an entity. We've spoken to representatives, we've spoken to Metro councilors, Clackamas County commissioners, state representatives. So we've been active in the political arena. We've been out in the neighborhoods of Lake Oswego and West Lynn and Tualatin to educate them what's going on. So why do we need a new community vision plan? So one of the things that we generally talk about is 2 factors. One is traffic. If we are urbanized, what happens to the traffic? Where does it go? And the second factor, and I'm generalizing here as you can imagine, is the fiscal aspect of urbanization. When we talk about urbanization, we talk about the dollars associated with roads, sewers, runoff water. I can't remember what the right term. Robert, what's the right term? Surface water, thank you, and sewers, okay? So those are the dollars associated with infrastructure. In 2018, a gentleman from an engineering firm who has been involved in the preliminary concept planning for different organizations of the hamlet was quoted in the Tribune that it was going to be $2.7 billion, that's a B, to do the costs for the infrastructure in the hamlet to build the hamlet out. Now, numbers can be played in any way you want to, but $2.7 billion is a large number no matter what. one of the things when we talk about that, and Jeff is going to get into how these numbers work, is how much the cities are being asked to do. Currently, the number is a 60-40 split. 60% for the developers, 40% for the cities. That's, if you did simple math, that's $300 million per city to do capital expenditures. That also, by the way, does not include any new schools, and it doesn't include the dollars associated at the 3 cities for their upgrades to their systems to be able to accommodate this. Another factor would be, there you go. So when you take a look at this, this is something we borrowed from the city of Beaverton in their communications to the citizens out south of Beaverton towards Sherwood, the Cooper Mountain area. And the intent of bringing this slide up is you've got county values as county taxpayers, current assessed, taxation after annexation. You can see those differences. Pretty much speaks for itself. When you go into a city, you are going to pay more taxes even if you do nothing with your land. So the 2020 vision plan that John just put up, please. It is a draft. We're waiting for your comments and your approval, hopefully. The idea here is it's a very conceptual community vision plan. It's 101 words. Our old community vision plan, when it discussed all the different factors and the different ideas of what the hamlet might be with a 5 or 10 acre zoning, was, I don't know, 1,200 words, something like that. We're down to 100 words. It's very simple. We attempt not to paint anybody into a corner, but we also attempt not to paint anybody out of a corner. So we felt that this was something conceptually that would work with the concept, and it is a vision. It's not a dream in my mind, but it is a vision, that we would talk about how do we work with conservation. To that end, we've got Nellie McAdams that will come and speak here in a little bit from the Oregon Land Trust. We have the Metros of the world with their big parks bond, and not here tonight. And so, oh, Christine.
I'm not all of it, but I'm a part of it.
And Rachel, thank you. Christine Lewis is our Metro Counselor, District 2. And Rachel is our state representative from our district here, which is 37. Thank you for coming, guys. So, we are proposing this new concept plan. We will communicate it if it's approved to the cities, and it gives us a leg to move forward. The other thing that when Christine said, hey, I'm here, is we also believe that we can promote agriculture out here, and we are not the crazies that we've been called on this concept. People want to get back to the farm. People want food locally. People want to be able to see where their food is grown, not trucked in. We can be a carbon sink environment. I know that's from our generation. That's a bit of a much, but you know, it's really important today. And we have this opportunity with hard work and people's sharing their vision to be able to bring this forward.